Want to make a podcast? Spotify's got a platform that lets you make one super easily, then distribute it everywhere and earn money, all in one place for free. It's called Spotify for Podcasters, and here's how it works. Spotify for Podcasters lets you record and edit podcasts right from your phone or computer, so no matter what your setup is like, you can start creating today. Then you can distribute your podcast to Spotify and everywhere else podcasts are heard. Video podcasts are also available on Spotify. With Spotify for Podcasters, you can earn money in a variety of ways, including ads and podcast subscriptions. And best of all, it's totally free with no catch. Ever since we discovered Spotify for Podcasters, we have had so much fun trying out all of the features like Q&As and polls that let us be really creative and engage with our audience. I highly recommend you give it a try. Download the Spotify for Podcasters app or go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started.
The Cambridge is stunned at the inaugural Earthshot Prize Awards. Andrew Morton himself is here, and the Queen can no longer have her nightcap. This and more on episode 42 of Podcast Royal. Hello, friends, and hello, my friend Jessica. How are you?
I am so wonderful. How are you doing?
I'm good. This has not been my favorite week of my life, as we discussed offline, but I'm hanging in there and happy to be with you.
Well, I am glad to be back with you too. It's been a pretty busy week. A lot's happened. So I am going to share what I'm into this week because I'm pretty excited about this one.
Ooh, do tell.
All right. So if you haven't seen yet, Anthropologie just dropped their new fall clothing line. And it is so obviously a nod to Princess Diana. Have you seen it?
No, tell me.
Really beautiful clothes. They are definitely styles she would have worn. So, there's plaid blazers, ruffle neck blouses, cable knit cardigans, some really pretty holiday dresses. And the model that they have in these clothes even looks like Princess Diana.
Wait a minute. I have seen this. I didn't realize I didn't realize it was Anthropologie. Yes. Now I know what you're talking. I've seen this on my social media. Yes. Oh my gosh. And does she have her head kind of turned to the side and she's blonde?
Yeah, it's that short kind of bob haircut.
Yeah, I have seen this. I just didn't realize it was Anthropologie. I didn't look that close.
Yes, definitely a nod to her, and the clothes are beautiful, and I'm really excited about it. So if listeners like to shop Anthropologie, go check that out.
Yeah, for sure. I was going to ask you, when you say Princess Diana inspired, which era are we referring to? Because there's some eras that I might not want to repeat, but then there's some eras that I'm all about. But if it's Anthropologie, it's going to be really fashion forward.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, it's a modern spin on some of those, classic traditional British styles.
Ooh, okay. Well, I don't know if mine can stack up to that, but this week I am into all of the good TV on right now. I'm having a heyday with my television queue over here. So I am currently watching, let's see, American Crime Story Impeachment, Succession, The Morning Show, the Diana docuseries on CNN, which we'll talk a little bit more in a bit. The Sinner, probably more that I can't think of. It kind of seems like after TV slowed down for COVID, since no one could really film, the TV shows I love are coming back in full force. Are you watching any? I know I ask you this, but are you watching any shows that you're into right now, or are you just busy with your DIY home projects and being a more productive citizen than me?
Well, as we were chatting before we started recording, and I did spend a long weekend out of town. So I have really not watched TV this week. I'm actually even behind on Great British Baking Show new episodes. What? So I'm going to catch up on those tonight, though. And I still have, a growing list of of things on Netflix that I need to watch. So
Oh, I forgot. I've got to finish You tonight. So You season 3 dropped over the weekend. I'm on episode 9. It's
awesome.
really good. And I've had to tear myself away from it, but I'm all into this TV. There's some really great TV on right now. So
Is I just get so sidetracked doing other things. I can consume a huge list of podcasts in a short amount of time because I can multitask with it. But the TV, if I am not sitting there totally tuned in 100%, I just totally miss what's going on and punchlines. And so I have to really just disconnect from everything. And sometimes it's hard to do that.
Yeah, I'm really, constantly working on getting life more balanced and not working so much. And I really took this past Sunday, to just literally not work, which I know, like, why would I be working on a Sunday? But I really have been. And it was so nice to just like watch television all day. And just, I had my mom over to my house and we just laid around and watched TV, and it was fantastic. I also wanted to share another life hack, or not another life hack. It's because TV is not, well, I guess TV is a life hack for me. It allows me to disconnect, but I have started doing this life hack. So when I get up these days, I've been drinking 64 ounces of water before I really dive into my day. So I have a 16, or did I say 64 or 16? Because I meant 64. So I have a 16-ounce water bottle, and I drink 4 of those before I get started. And like, that's not in one sitting. Like, I'll drink 16 ounces and then I'll take a shower, and then I'll drink 16 ounces and then I'll get ready, and then I'll, on and on. Yeah. And so that way, if I accomplish nothing else during the day, at least I've had my water intake, and my skin reflects it. I feel like my skin looks good. I feel good. And if nothing else, I've accomplished that for the day. So that has been good for me.
Well, I definitely need to pick up that hack because I have not been as good about drinking water lately. I need to get back on that.
Yeah, I usually honestly don't drink much of anything during the day. I drink at meal times, but that's really about it. But I will tell you that I find that I have more mental clarity in the morning, because I'm not a morning person, and I feel like I have more mental clarity when I start my day off with my water. I don't know if that's just a placebo effect or what, but it's working for me. So other than that, my week has been terrible. So I'm just watching TV and drinking water over here and following our wonderful royal family. We are going to move into segment 1, Royal Rundown. We have a lot to talk about before we have Andrew Morton on the show, which we're very excited about. So the Earthshot Prize Awards were on Sunday. And honestly, I want to sincerely say kudos to William and to Kate too, and the entire team for just such a magnificent idea from back to front. And I am so excited, beyond thrilled, honestly, that the 2022 Earthshot Prize is heading right here to the United States. Did you hear that?
Yes.
Any predictions what city they'll choose? It'll probably be New York or Washington, D.C., but what if they chose like Atlanta? Then we would so be there.
Oh yeah, I was wondering that too, and I kind of settled on thinking it would be New York, but I don't know.
Yeah.
We'll see. They could get creative. Maybe they'll even
Or
come into
LA.
Birmingham.
Well, Los Angeles would make sense too if they wanted to.
You don't think they would consider Birmingham?
Um, the Birmingham cheerleader in me wants to say absolutely. We've got the British connection already. There's a city in the UK called Birmingham, but I wouldn't bet my money on it. So
they would probably pick a city that is really progressing in green efforts. So,
yeah, you're right.
I'm not really sure what city that is, but we'll have to look into that and maybe make some better predictions.
Well, I know that they're listening to us for suggestions, so I throw Birmingham in the hat. Why not? Why not? So William and Kate showed up on the green carpet, not the red carpet, but the green carpet, ready to wow. So let's talk Kate first of all. She was stunning in an Alexander McQueen rewear from 2011. I loved her hair, first of all. I think that's going to be my new reference photo for any formal event I might go to, although I'm not sure what that would be. I don't really go to a lot of formals anymore, but her hair was incredible. Okay, then we have William in a green velvet suit, which is certainly a royal first, at least to my eye. I would love to hear your thoughts on the green velvet suit.
So I actually was thinking about this event this weekend, and I really loved it. So I'll just kind of give a quick rundown. I loved the idea of the green carpet. I thought that was really, really fun. I
Yeah.
also loved that they asked guests to rewear clothing from past occasions.
Mhm.
Loved Kate's dress, and you're right, her hair. And honestly, um, did I pick up on a little hint of red in her hair?
Yeah, it looks more red tones, like very autumnal, right? Like very fall seasonal to me. It's just I mean, I love it. Like I'm getting so many so I just turned 35 last month. I think I've talked about that on the show. And I'm getting so many white hairs that I've never dyed my hair ever. Like ever ever. This is my baby hair I was born with. Or you know what I mean? Not hair I was born with, but hair my natural hair. And I think I'm gonna really use her uh, photo as a reference photo going forward.
Yeah, I definitely think she added a little hint of red in there. But on William's outfit, I really liked the green velvet jacket. I am a fan of that sort of velvet fabric. Now I have to admit, I'm not a big fan of the turtleneck look, but I do think that it kind of tied the whole outfit together really nicely. So I'll give him that. But really, really cool jacket.
Well, I mean, the whole event was it's just such a passion project of William. So before I go any further, if you want more Earthshot, you can get it. The 5-part series, the Earthshot Prize, Repairing Our Planet, is on Discovery's streaming platforms. And the book, Earthshot, How to Save Our Planet, is out here in the US November 16th. So at the Earthshot Prize Awards, speaking to the crowd assembled, William specifically wanted to address, quote, all the young people watching tonight, quote, likely in particular his children, George, Charlotte, and Louis. And he said, quote, for too long, we haven't done enough to protect the planet for your future. The Earth shot is for you. In the next 10 years, we're going to act. We're going to find the solutions to repair our planet. Please keep learning, keep demanding change, and don't give up hope. We will rise to these challenges. So again, bravo all the way around to the Duke of Cambridge. So I know you ran through some of your thoughts. Do you have any other thoughts on this?
I just thought it was a cool, fun event. And I also, did you see Charles's photo on Instagram? He posted ahead
I
of it.
did. I
Yeah, I was
did.
gonna say I did like that photo. So Prince Charles posted a photo of him and William, and they were in their jackets, and he had his head laid over on William's shoulder, and they were both smiling. And he actually had a little caption. I won't read the whole thing, but it said, I'm very proud of my son William on his growing commitment to the environment and the bold ambition of the Earthshot Prize. And then he kind of went on to talk about, more of the event, and he mentioned his terracotta, or sorry about that, I always mess that up. The terracotta and Sustainable Markets Initiative. And then he kind of finished the caption out by saying, we have a real opportunity to deliver a brighter future for humanity while restoring harmony between nature, people, and planet. So I just thought that was a sweet little show of support for William.
Yeah, and my mom has always said that, I mean, and we know this because we're royal followers, that the environment and environmentalism has long been a passion project of Charles's as well. But in Charles's, when Charles was William's age, he was kind of looked upon as odd for caring so much about climate and the environment. And now his son has really taken the baton, and Charles is definitely still doing climate and environmental work, but William has really taken the baton, and look at what he's done with it. So I can imagine that Charles is an extremely proud father this week. So ahead of Sunday's Earthshot Prize Awards, Prince William told the BBC on Thursday that maybe space tourism trips shouldn't be a priority. William actually kind of got some flack for this. William said, quote, we need some of the world's greatest brains and minds fixed on trying to repair this planet, not trying to find the next place to go and live. I think that ultimately is what sold it for me, that it really is quite crucial to be focusing on this planet rather than giving up and heading out into space to try to think of solutions for the future, end quote. So he and Kate, well, before I move on to that, any thoughts on his statement on that? I'm prone to agree with him, but also I support space travel too. But I think he's really referring to just the every man or every woman going into space. Why don't we take those efforts and focus on the planet that we already have? So, any thoughts on that?
I mean, he's entitled to his opinion on that. Um, my thoughts are, I kind of feel people should be free to explore and kind of do whatever they're passionate about, whether that's the environment or whether that's the, outer space and, whatever they may be passionate about. I tend to not really, fall with telling someone what they should and shouldn't do in that
Yeah,
regard. So, I mean,
I
that's just
agree.
my personal perspective on that.
I see his point, but I also, if you look, if you're Jeff Bezos or Richard Branson and you want to go to space with your millions of dollars, then go to space. But
Yeah, there may be some value in that too, and I think, like I just said, people are passionate about all kinds of different things, and everyone's different interests and passions are what make the world go round.
amen, sister. So he and Kate also spoke out about honestly the absolutely appalling murder of David Amos, a member of parliament for 38 years, who was stabbed to death at an event with voters last week. The Cambridges wrote on their joint Twitter account, "We are shocked and saddened by the murder of Sir David Amos, who dedicated 40 years of his life to serving his community. Our thoughts and prayers are with his family, friends, and colleagues." So obviously, Jessica, the royals famously don't discuss politics. They don't vote. They don't take sides in political debates. But this transcends politics into humanity. And on behalf of both of us, I know you'll be comfortable with me doing this. I'd like to echo the Cambridges and say our thoughts and prayers also go out to his loved ones during this awful time for them. That's just
Absolutely.
sickening and
Mhm.
so devastating. So William, it's the William show today. William marked a milestone this week. He took to Instagram for his first ever Instagram Q&A. One of the highlights, I thought this was adorable. After being asked, "Are unicorns real?" the Duke of Cambridge answered, "Well, I think if you talk to my daughter, she'd say they were real. Obviously, it's a trade secret, so I can't possibly comment." So William is having a big week, huh? Earthshot Prize Awards, his first Instagram Q&A.
Yes, I saw this too, and I really enjoyed watching it. And when I was actually thinking about what I was into this week, I was actually going to mention this until I saw the fall line drop at Anthropology, and I had to mention that one. But I do like how the Cambridges are getting creative on social media, and we're getting more FaceTime there. I think it helps build their popularity, but it gives us a sense of who they really are kind of behind the scenes or behind the cameras at the official public appearances. It sort of feels unscripted, even if it is, and it gives us sort of I don't know, just a more relatable perspective to be able to hear from them that way. It feels genuine. So I hope we get more of it. I hope we get to see Catherine doing something like this in the future. I think it could be really fun.
Yeah, I need more Instagram Q&As from the Cambridges and beyond. So by the way, speaking of Catherine, or as she's my best friend, so I just call her Kate. But how beautiful was Kate in another royal rewear this week? So she did the McQueen rewear to the Earthshot Prize Awards, but earlier in the week, the green Erdem coat she wore on Wednesday alongside William at a Generation Earthshot event. She had previously worn the coat while on tour in New Zealand in 2014. And I like how her rewears really do keep with the theme of sustainability. Did you like the different green shades that she incorporated in the look?
Yeah, I agree. I thought it was a beautiful coat, and I noticed that she has been very conscious of her fashion choices lately. And, I think it goes to show how a quality classic piece can really last for a long time, and it can withstand trendy fashion. It can hold up to, wear and tear over the years and still look great. So I think that's a really great, model for all of us, to remember that you know we don't have to constantly be chasing all these trends. If the the Duchess of Cambridge can rewear a coat from 2014, we can too.
I just had this thought. So if at the Earthshot Prize Awards they weren't allowed to buy any new clothes, so that means that Williams owned that green velvet jacket for a while.
Yeah, I kind of wondered if it was like maybe something he wore at Christmas one year or
I'm like,
something.
where did you wear that before? Because I would have surely remembered that if it were anywhere in public. It has to be like a private family gathering or something, because one does not forget a green velvet jacket very easily. So I thought she looked beautiful in the green, but I thought she looked incredible today. Did you see her today in the red?
Yes, I
Ah,
did.
I
um
want that dress. So turtlenecks are everywhere. Meghan was wearing turtlenecks in New York City. William wore a turtleneck on Sunday. Kate is in a turtleneck dress. That dress is everything. I loved it.
so it was a pretty bright red color, and it was this monochromatic look. And I actually went to what Kate wore this afternoon to kind of do a little bit of digging. So just for our listeners, so you can get kind of a rundown based on what Kate wore. She had on this, it was a cashmere turtleneck sweater, and it was actually Polo Ralph Lauren. And it was tucked into this red polyester pleated skirt. And I think Christopher Kane was the designer of the skirt. And then
Wait,
she
it wasn't a
had,
dress?
it was not a dress. No, it was two pieces. Yes.
You've just blown my mind. I thought it was a dress.
No. So yeah, she pulled it off and made it look like it was one piece. And that I think is what I loved about it. I think if it had been the same material on the top and the same on the bottom, it might have felt too like matchy sort of. But it was the cashmere material paired with the sort of lighter flowy polyester of the skirt. I think they complemented each other really well. I think they were good textures to put together. And yeah, I mean, it looked totally seamless. You couldn't even tell when she was walking. So
I'm serious. I thought that was a one piece. Like
yeah.
I thought I had no, you have blown my mind. I hadn't had the chance to get over to what Kate wore today. And I'm shocked. I mean, that's amazing. Such a good
So she paired the outfit, which I love that she does this, with tan um, pumps and this tan colored leather handbag. I love the neutrals on the handbag and the feet. And then she had these little gold hoops. And what Kate wore said the gold hoops they think are ASOS, which retail for like $14.50. So
Mhm.
she really did a good job kind of pairing highs and lows, because the skirt was certainly a splurge piece. I mean, that came in just over $1,000 if they got that correct on their site, which I'm sure they did. So,
Yeah, what
but
Kate
yeah,
wore
it looks
is
great.
the best it's just the best. So yeah, and I know Susan Kelly would not put that out there unless she knew without much doubt that that was where it came from. Wow, you have still blown my mind.
Yeah, I was trying to decide though if I liked how they had her hair today. I mean, it was just down and it was curled. But I was trying to decide if I would have preferred it up, maybe in a ponytail or something. I don't know. I mean, I think it
I liked
looked
it.
okay. Yeah,
I
I
liked
think
it.
so. I was trying to think like, how she might have done it differently, but it looked great. It looked good.
Yeah, well, what she was doing was she was giving a keynote speech at an event for one of her patronages, the Forward Trust. The Forward Trust launched its Taking Action on Addiction, or of the Taking Action on it. It has to be Taking Action on Addiction campaign today, which is Tuesday. And Kate, who just 2 days prior obviously presented an award at the Earthshot Prize Awards, took to the stage for this keynote as well, speaking about addiction and its roots in early childhood experiences. This long-term campaign will work to improve understanding and awareness of addiction, all with the goal of encouraging more people to ask for and receive help. So, in part of her speech, Kate said, addiction is not a choice. No one chooses to become an addict, but it can happen to any one of us. None of us are immune. It is all too rarely discussed as a serious mental health condition, and seldom do we take the time to uncover and fully understand its fundamental root causes. And then she continued, as a society, we need to start from a position of compassion and empathy, where we nurture those around us, understand their journey, and what has come before them. So that's powerful stuff. So obviously she looked beautiful, but what she was doing was really powerful too.
Yeah, absolutely. I liked what she had to say on all of that. She mentioned addiction is something really complex, and we don't often understand the circumstances of others or underlying factors that lead to that. She referenced how COVID-19 lockdowns can also cause a lot of stress and isolation for people that often impacts addiction. And this campaign is really helping to drive awareness around that, and hopefully provide some really healthy information to people and help combat, this addiction crisis and health issue that people face.
Yeah. Well, the Cambridges have obviously had an interesting week, but so has the Queen. A lot has gone down for her this week. So, first off, today, Tuesday, she, Charles, and William welcomed international leaders to Windsor to discuss the climate crisis, which, of course, has been top of mind for the family this week with the Earthshot Prize awards. Also, she has a new wax figure at Madame Tussauds Blackpool, and it looks a whole lot like her. And some news coming out of Kenya, Treetops, which is the safari lodge in Kenya where she was staying in February 1952 when her father unexpectedly passed away, has announced that it is closing due to a sharp drop in tourism because of the pandemic. Treetops opened in 1932, and of course, on February 6, 1952, that's when her father passed away. The Queen's armed escort, Jim Corbett, wrote in the Treetops logbook of the treehouse she and husband Philip were staying in, quote, for the first time in the history of the world, a young girl climbed into the tree as a princess and climbed down as a queen. It's pretty powerful.
Wow.
And she was also advised, very random but interesting article from Vanity Fair this week, also advised to drop her daily cocktail, according to Vanity Fair. The drink she prefers is usually a martini, the family friend told the publication, continuing, it's not really a big deal for her. She's not a big drinker, but it seems a trifle unfair that at this stage in her life, she's having to give up one of her very few pleasures. So what do you think about this? And, is taking away one of her simple pleasures unfair?
It's funny how this kind of stuff, makes it out of the palace into the news.
I know. I'm like, gosh, who's leaking this? And how did this item get out?
Well, one of my simple pleasures is chocolate. And I have to admit, it would be extremely tough to give up. But, it is important to prioritize our health, especially as we get older. And I really, I think she understands this. I think it's something that's reasonable to pass up. We know alcohol can interfere with medications. It can affect blood sugar. It can cause all kinds of things. So I'm sure, at least I hope, she has maybe a favorite dessert or something she can indulge in instead. But I'm sure she was a good sport about this one. What do you think?
Well, I mean, I say let the woman have her nightly cocktail, but if it's for her health, then I want to keep her around as long as possible. So I guess that you have to do what the doctor says. But finally, okay, I love the Queen. Speaking of getting older and health and all that stuff. So the Queen politely declined the Oldie magazine's Oldie of the Year award because, in her words, she doesn't meet the relevant criteria. She's 95, everybody. You are only as old as you feel, she said. So, right on. So, she's young at heart, if nothing else. That makes me love her so much. Like, that I can't be your oldie of the year because I'm not old. I'm young at heart. I love
I
that.
love that.
God, I love her so much. Okay, so let's do a little bit of royals around the world. So, the newest Dior menswear ambassador might look familiar to diehard royal followers. It is Pierre Khosrahi, the 34-year-old son of Princess Caroline of Monaco. We've talked about Pierre before because Pierre is very good looking, hence why he is the newest Dior menswear ambassador. Dior said in a statement, an icon of elegance, Pierre Khosrahi becomes Dior's ambassador. The Monegasque businessman embodies the new facet of tailoring constantly reinvented by Kim Jones, who is the creative of Dior's men's line, a timeless modernity. Pierre is eighth in the line of succession to the Monegasque throne, and as I said before, is absolutely gorgeous. So the King and Queen of Bhutan also celebrated their 10-year wedding anniversary this year. King Jigme Kesar and Queen Jetsun Pema are, according to People, known as the Prince William and Kate Middleton of the Himalayas, and were married on October 13th, 2011. On the Queen's Instagram page, she marked the occasion by writing, 10 years ago, the people of Bhutan were introduced to their new queen. Over the years, the nation has come together in celebration as well as challenging times, always guided and inspired by our king and queen. I think that this is their staff writing this, not her. On this cherished day, the 10th anniversary of their royal wedding, we take the opportunity to thank the guardians protecting Bhutan for blessing this land with a king and queen whose benevolence and service knows no parallel. So happy anniversary to the beautiful couple, and they are a beautiful couple. Check out their Instagram. They had what people called probably the most colorful royal wedding ever. It was beautiful.
Wow.
Who knew that there was another? I did not, if I'm honest, I did not know that there was another royal wedding that happened in 2011. So,
No, good update. I always enjoy when we do that segment when there's something to report. There's always really great, interesting stories coming from around the world.
true. And I got caught up this weekend, as I mentioned before, on the CNN Diana docuseries. I am now obsessed with it. They are 2 episodes in, and it's a 6-part docuseries. And I can't wait for next week's episode. So we've heard the Diana story before, obviously, but this time I appreciate that it is being told with really Diana herself narrating the program from her tapes she gave to Andrew Morton for his 1992 book, Diana, Her True Story. And speaking of Mr. Morton, on the show today, we are honored to have legendary, iconic, renowned, every adjective you can think of, royal biographer, Mr. Andrew Morton himself on the show. Take a listen to our conversation. Andrew Morton really needs no introduction. A renowned biographer, perhaps best known for writing Diana, Her True Story in 1992. In addition to Diana, Her True Story, he has also written 3 other books about the Princess of Wales and has also written books on Prince Andrew, Fergie, William and Kate, Wallis Simpson, and Queen Elizabeth and Princess Margaret. So he's pretty much the royal biographer. He has written about non-royals as well, but still pop culture icons like Madonna, Posh and Becks, Tom Cruise, and Monica Lewinsky, who is having another major moment in the spotlight right now. We are chatting with him today because yesterday, October 19th, the newly updated and revised version of his 2018 book, Meghan, A Hollywood Princess, was released. As you know, just a little bit has happened in Meghan's life since 2018. The new edition is called Meghan and the Unmasking of the Monarchy, and it is about as juicy as it gets. Welcome to the show.
Hi, nice to talk to you again.
You as well.
Well, it's so great to have you here. We'll go ahead and get started with some questions. So, at this point in your career, you can really choose to write about anyone and anything. So tell us why you felt it was so important to revisit and update a book you originally wrote 3 years ago.
Well, the answer is staring at you in the face. I mean, in a way, she was when Meghan stood at the doors of St. George's Chapel 4 years ago, 2018. What was it, May the 19th? Who would have imagined that in 3 years she would have been living in a palace, not in the Palisades, but in Montecito, with 16 bathrooms and servants on tap.
Yeah. So you write in the book that you were frequently asked if Harry and Meghan would last. And you wrote, quote, "At the time, I felt it was the wrong question, as anyone with even a passing knowledge of Prince Harry would have realized that he was the eager supplicant in this romantic drama, not the other way around." Unpack that for us. Does that have to do with his childhood?
Well, that has to do with the fact that so many women, when asked, do not want to become a princess or a queen. Look at Prince Charles. He struggled to get somebody to walk down the aisle with him.
Right.
He was turned down 4 or 5 times. Probably the best known suitor that he had was Amanda Knatchbull, whom Mountbatten pushed her suit for Prince Charles. But even though they went on holidays together, spent weekends together, spent a long, long time together, she decided that the royal life was not for her. And the same was true of all kinds of other aristocratic young ladies that he wooed and tried to win. And the same was the case with Harry, that his major girlfriends were women that he fell for, took on holiday with, always to Botswana, of course, and they decided against the royal life because it's, as we've seen, incredibly intrusive. Every single fragment of your life is poured over.
It's so funny because, the average girl always dreams of being a princess. So it's interesting to hear that people are actually hesitant to join the royal family. It's clear to the public that, Meghan is a very independent woman. But we also know the monarchy is a rule-bound institution. And you write, the real issue was who would accommodate whom, Meghan or the monarchy, or to put it in another way, who would blink first. So when Meghan and Harry left the firm in 2020, do you believe that was sort of them blinking first?
Yeah, I think so. But at the same time, as I've discovered from talking to people in the Hollywood entertainment industry, they were thinking about Hollywood long before they decided against being inside the royal family. Some 6 months after the wedding, Prince Harry was deep in conversation in a London hotel with Oprah Winfrey and several executives about doing a tell-all interview. So that avenue, together with conversations with Jeffrey Katzenberg about a streaming internet service called Quibi, which didn't last very long, and the fact that Meghan was working with Elton John's husband, David Furnish, on a show called Pearl, shows that they were very keen on Hollywood. So it wasn't like an impulsive, we've got to get it away in the way that they portrayed it. It wasn't like they arrived, LAX with 2 suitcases and a cuddly toy and hitched a ride on a Greyhound bus. This was all part of a thought through plan.
So this book is an in-depth biography of Meghan's entire life, not just her time as a royal. You write about how she was often kind in school to those who were bullied, writing, quote, "Meghan's struggle to understand herself instinctively made her more aware of those who had difficulties fitting in." What was Meghan like as a young girl, and do you think she is still that person today?
Well, this is a very good question because it goes to the heart of some of the complaints made about her by members of staff to say that she was a bully. And when I first heard that story, I was rather disbelieving because Meghan has always made it clear that she does not tolerate bullies. And she, even as a young girl, when, you know, the girls called the mean girls, shall we say, were bullying other children, she would step in, and she genuinely had a moral compass. It's not like, and she was quite strong about it. And several of the young girls I spoke to, who knew and remembered Meghan, remembered her not because she became a famous actress on Suits or whatever and married into the royal family, but because at a critical time in their lives, when they were vulnerable, when they were being bullied, somebody stepped up to the plate and said, no more. And I find that, you know, we can all be virtuous after the fact, but when you're being virtuous, when there's nobody watching, when there's nobody recording, when it's not for the cameras, that's a measure of the person.
I agree.
You write that as a child, Meghan was given a copy of your iconic Diana, Her True Story, and that a childhood friend of hers said she was always fascinated by the royal family. She wants to be Princess Diana 2.0. Yet Meghan famously said she didn't really know anything about the royal family when she met Harry in 2016. So that doesn't really seem to add up to us. Can you share your thoughts on this?
Yeah, there's a lot of things that don't really add up when you actually put them in the mix. And I was surprised by the fact that she seemed so oblivious to Harry and William. And I don't know whether it was an act or what, but certainly she watched the funeral. She was upset by the funeral. She watched it with her friends. They remember how I think they collected toys and things and gave them to a charity in her name, because they were, you know, they were watching these two boys walk behind their mother's funeral cortege, and it was a deeply troubling and moving moment. And so I was surprised that Meghan in later life said she didn't really know them. It's I think it's often the way that you say you didn't know much in order to you know, show how much you've moved on.
Right. I mean, I can attest to this as someone who is roughly Meghan's age. I don't think there was a girl in America that did not know about William and Harry or have a poster of them on their wall growing up in the 90s. So I'm just putting that out there. So you write in the book, I think this is so interesting because really life in a lot of ways comes down to timing, right? You write in the book that had Meghan met Harry 2 years earlier, rather than exactly when she did, she wouldn't have fallen for Harry. Why is that?
Well, I mean, even when she fell for Harry, she insisted that he went for counselling for the anger issues that he had, and 2-3 years before that, he was a very angry young man, and he was taking on the world, and he was taking on paparazzi photographers particularly. He was stumbling out of bars, dishevelled and worse to wear for drink, and he didn't seem to have a compass. He didn't know which way to turn, and at that time he was struggling to find himself, struggling with the loss of his mother, struggling to come to terms with it. And as a young man, he wasn't always the popular Harry of popular imagination. He was described with some fairly pejorative terms for some of his behavior. And for example, when he was in Las Vegas, we all remember he stripped naked in front of a group of strangers. I mean, by any standards, if Prince or not, that's pretty out there behavior. True. And he said himself it was too much army, not enough Prince. Well, even in the army, I don't think you tend to do that in a hotel suite in Vegas. So Meghan, as she says herself, her favorite word is classy. And Harry wasn't particularly classy 3 or 4 years beforehand. He'd cleaned up his act. He'd got involved in the Invictus Games. He had found his métier. He'd found his cause in life, and he stuck to that, helping disabled, mentally injured soldiers and servicewomen to find themselves. And I think that was something that helped him find himself as well.
In the book, you also write of the much talked about relationship between Kate and Meghan, and how you say Kate offered friendliness but not friendship. So was the public wrong to have wanted or expected the two of them to become best friends?
Well, yeah, it's a bit of a cliche, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, the Queen, one Prime Minister, British Prime Minister James Callaghan, said that she offers friendliness, not friendship. And I think that was very much the case with Kate Middleton, that she was friendly towards Meghan, but why should they be friends? Diana wasn't particularly friends with Princess Anne, for example. She was friends with Fergie, but before that, before she entered the royal family. Meghan is a very different character to Kate, and there wasn't the kind of commonality, the common feeling that you might expect. And she was heavily pregnant with her third child, difficult pregnancy. Meghan was still learning the ropes, loads of questions. Neither of them had the time. I think that they were professional enough after the whole affair of should the flower girls wear tights or not. They were professional enough afterwards to draw a line under it and realize they did not want headlines that were endless dueling duchesses, because that would just play into a tabloid narrative. They have appeared in public together at Wimbledon, for example, at polo, and they've been friendly, but not, best friends. And certainly Harry would have wanted them to be best friends, but there was even a question of geography. Harry and Meghan lived in Oxfordshire, which is way west of London, and William and Catherine lived up in Norfolk, which was a good 3 or 4 hour drive on a good day.
Well, and I've said this once, I've said it a million times. How many of us really are best friends with our sisters-in-law? I mean, we like them, we are cordial, we're friendly, we enjoy seeing them at family functions, but very few of us, that is our best friend. And
exactly, it's a good question. And why should she be best friends? They've got different houses, different priorities, different circles of friends. I mean, it's a very good word you've just used there. They're cordial.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, that is that is there was never I don't know, I think we put too much pressure on that relationship. But
having said that, there's another element to it as well. As Meghan became increasingly disenchanted with the royal world, I'm sure she thought to herself, do I really have to curtsy to Kate Middleton for the rest of my life? I can't bear it. I mean, I'm sure she would never admit that, but in the dark recesses of her soul, she probably thought that.
Well, yeah. And Kate and many others as well.
Yeah.
So when we last caught up, you were promoting your brilliant book about the sisters, Elizabeth and Margaret. And at that time, so you live in Pasadena, for context, nearby the Sussexes in California. At that time, you had not yet run into them. Has that changed? And regardless, what would you say to them if you did?
How they enjoy? You mean the Sussexes? Yeah. Well, we've actually spent a long time in Montecito. It's actually where I asked my wife to marry me.
Oh, wow.
So Montecito has a very affectionate place in my heart. We've been there lots and lots of times. My wife used to have a house there, so we know it quite well. And there's the ladies who go walking around the fairly steep streets, and from time to time they'll go by Meghan and Harry's place, and they'll pose by the cameras and drop a curtsy. Rob Lowe lives nearby, and he does a podcast, and he says it's like trying to find the abominable snowman. It's difficult to catch Harry and Meghan, but it's a perfect place for the kids to grow up. There's surfing just at the end of the road. There's hills at the background in the back. it's a very, very pretty place. It is kind of a modern day Garden of Eden.
Mm.
Well, we've got one more question for you before we wrap up. So, since the first edition of this book was released, I mean, quite a lot has happened. Meghan has given birth twice. She's been on royal tours, stepped down from being a working member of the royal family. She's lived in 3 countries, interviewed with Oprah. I mean, so much has gone on that we really could have never predicted. So as her biographer, I am curious to know, what do you think the next 3 years will look like for Meghan?
Well, I think that's a fascinating question. First of all, let's just talk about her daughter, Lilibet. She's going to be the first ever American-born princess, isn't she? So we're going to be fascinated in her life, and she will be embraced, I think, by the American public. I think for Meghan and for Harry, they've accepted a lot of money from Spotify and from Netflix, these streaming services, and they will want their pound of flesh. They've mined themselves for material. Now they've got to mine elsewhere and come up with, the next Squid Games, and they've got to come up with more than just a documentary about the Invictus Games. They've got to come up with material that's not worthy, but which will entice a worldwide audience. So they've got to put professional producers' hats on and be able to read a script and see if there's a nugget of creativity in there that can be developed. It's not an easy gig, and yes, they've hired several people to work with them. They do have the added advantage of they've got an address book that is to die for, and they can call anybody on the planet and they will pick up the phone. So they have that great advantage. But what they don't want to fall into is doing what Prince Edward did when he had his own TV company, Ardent Productions, 10, 15 years ago, where he tried to make it non-royal, but in order to make money and to get headlines, he ended up doing programs about the royal family, and one in particular, Edward on Edward himself, speaking about Edward VIII. So, Meghan and Harry have got a challenge, and the challenge is to organise and to sponsor TV shows which are not royal.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Well, listeners, the newly updated Andrew Morton biography of Meghan is out now, so definitely go and grab a copy. And thank you so much for joining us today. I mean, this has been an incredible conversation, and we really, really appreciate your time. My pleasure, Rachel. My pleasure, Jessica. And always happy to speak to you.
How interesting was that conversation?
Oh my gosh, I really enjoyed speaking with him. It was super interesting.
Thank you for coming on the show, Andrew, and we hope to have you back someday. And he is truly a legend in this space. So anything else? That was quite a busy week that I wasn't really expecting, but the Royals are back in full force and we're covering every minute of it. So anything else for the good of the order?
No, I think we covered it this week. You're right. It was a busy week. We had an awesome conversation with Andrew Morton and lots of fun news to share. So I'm excited to see what happens next week.
Listeners, follow us at Podcast Royal on Instagram. Email us at hellopodcastroyal@gmail.com. Follow, rate, review. We appreciate you being here for episode 42, and we will chat with you next week. Bye.
Bye.